Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Wednesday workshop. So glad that you could all be with me this evening. Excuse me, I have a mint in my mouth. I've had, I don't know about all of you, but whoosh, everything has just bloomed out. Mold, trees, grass, you name it. And so Dave and I are both, have been inundated with allergies. The cottonwoods are blooming. That really gives us both crazy allergies. So sucking on a mitt, trying to keep my throat clear because it's been really bad all day. But I am so happy to be with you guys tonight. It has been a crappy day. Can I say that live? Storms, rain, constant rain all day long. The sun never came out. I've not seen the sun all day, but we're doing good anyway. Let's see who we've got with us so far this evening. We have our good friend Ruth from Lake Stevens, Washington. How are things out in the beautiful Emerald State? Ruth, you guys know I love Washington because I lived there for a very, very, very long time, few decades. I love it out there. So, and I know where Lake Stevens is. We live just down the road from them. So, how is it in Lake Stevens today, Ruth? You guys having sunshine, or you're getting a lot of rain as well? And then we have our friend Kathy from steamy North Carolina. Yeah, I get that. So Dave and I lived in Pensacola, Florida for a few years when he was in Naval Flight School. And, we'd walk out of the house like at 7 a.m. and it felt like you needed to go right back in and re-shower. The humidity was just horrible. So I get the steaminess, but I hope you're staying cooled down, Kathy, and nice and comfortable. And our good friend Sue is here from Indiana. Hi, Sue. So glad to have you with us this evening. If you're new and you've never joined us here at Build A Quilt on Wednesday workshop before, welcome. We're so glad to have you. We love having new folks with us. Don't be shy. Go ahead and sign in the comments and introduce yourself so that everybody can say hi back to you. And so I can acknowledge you as well. We have a very friendly crowd here, very friendly crowd. So please don't be shy about saying hello. Let's see. We have Phyllis with us from Central Virginia. Hello, Phyllis. So nice of you to be with us this evening. Now, I've lived in Virginia too, believe it or not. Growing up, my dad was in the U.S. Navy, and we lived in Norfolk for a while, and Little Creek. So that's still Virginia, but not Central Virginia. Virginia is a beautiful state, so I'm kind of jealous a little bit, Phyllis. But welcome in with us tonight. So glad to have you with us this evening. We've got some fun stuff to do tonight. I think it's fun because it's kind of something that is going to get us ready for a future thing, which I'll talk about. And it's something you guys have been asking a little bit about. In fact, one of our Build A Quilters sent me an email today and asked about it. Let's see. Oh, we got, let's see. Ruth says, cloudy today, supposed to be 75 through next Wednesday. Except for the cloudy part, that's perfect. But cloudy, that's normal in Washington this time of year, right? Because when we lived out there, the saying was summer didn't begin until July 5th because we always got rain or fog or something on the 4th of July. We were always fingers and toes crossed that we would see the 4th of July fireworks. And then the next day, it would just get to be beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I keep forgetting that I can pop up everybody's comments. There's Ruth from beautiful Lake Stevens. So I'm going to try to remember that more often because I want to acknowledge you guys in that way. Because your support means everything to me. Ruth says, true. Yeah, all in cap. Look, she's got it all in capitals. True. Yes, it's very true. That's just the way the Pacific Northwest is, but it's a beautiful area. If you've never been to the Pacific Northwest, I recommend Washington State. I'm a little prejudiced that way, but Oregon is also massively beautiful. Go out on a vacation. I'm telling you, you'll fall in love with it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful area of the country. Lots of, especially if you like to do outdoor things. If you love roses, Portland has a beautiful rose garden. We have a beautiful arboretum in Seattle, next to the University of Washington. The arboretum's beautiful. A couple of lakes, you can do canoeing and stuff. Anyway, I could be a tour guide, I guess, right? All righty. All right, guys, let's start out with some memes, right? Some little cartoons that I found. This week's has the theme of thread. Don't ask me why. It just kind of came to my mind. Ooh, let's find some on threads. So here we go. Here's our first one. It says, your bobbin thread will run out 1 inch from the end of your final seam always. Yeah, isn't that the truth? Now, I will say that the only thing that isn't true about that kind of is that my embroidery machine has like a sensor, and it stops and tells me my bobbin is about to run out. And I always have like maybe a yard of bobbin thread, which isn't really all that much in the sewing process. But so I don't technically run out, but I just wait for that little thing to happen, right? So Kathy says, absolutely true. Yeah, it is true. Like on my sewing machine, I'm always running out of my bobbin on my sewing machine. You'd think after 50 plus odd years of sewing and embroidery and stuff that I would like have that. I'd be on the lookout for it. No, never. I'm just that way. Kathy says, I love this. Kathy says, I play bobbin chicken daily. Yes, I agree. I know what that's about, right? Bobbin chicken for sure. All righty. Let's go to the next one. Let me bring it up. I think we'll do this one. Got 3 of them for us today. So this one says, oops, come back here. Why did it do? Oh, there we go. Hang on. Something weird is going on. My machine is like doing weird things. There we go. Okay. This says, some of my best days have been spent hanging by a thread. That's cute. I like that. Yeah, some of my best days have been hanging by a thread too. In your room, you're doing your stitching, whether it's embroidery or garment sewing or upholstery or anything like that, or hand embroidery. You guys know I'm rubbish at hand embroidery because I'm a lefty and all my stitches go backwards, and I never have gotten that system worked out, which is a little frustrating. I can cross stitch just fine, but all those other beautiful hand embroidery stitches, yeah, I'm rubbish. But I liked this one. This one came from bomquilts.com. So thank you to them for putting this little meme out, because I thought it was a little bit encouraging, a little bit. And then we've got one more meme to share. Gosh, what's going on today? So if I cut out or things get weird, it has been raining and storming today. So that's, oh, this came up really little. Sorry, guys. This says, that moment when you realize you ran out of bobbin thread and you have been sewing nothing. Oh, so Kathy says she plays bobbin chicken daily. This is my deal. Like when I'm on my sewing machine, I was sewing a pair of curtains once, and they were big, like they were for a super huge window, and I had like a 90-inch seam to sew. I got almost to the very end when I realized like my fabric was slipping away from what was going on, right? I had like run out of bobbin about after the first 10 inches. It was, yeah. And that was me. Oh, woe is me. Horrible. It's a horrible thing to happen. So, and then you would think, so here's the one thing I do is I always prep a dozen bobbins before I sit down for something. If I only have 8 in the drawer, I go ahead and make up to 12 of them, just so that I know that I'm going to have enough to get into that project and all. But unless I have a buzzer or something on my machine, like I do on my embroidery machine, I never know if I'm about to run out or not. I just don't look. Is that you guys? Do you not look either? Maybe you guys are really good. You guys are probably really good and look every time. Not me. I'm really bad. Alrighty. And then we do have, so you know, we're doing our quilt along right now is Reflections in Flight. It's all about the flying geese units. And our dear Kathy, who likes to play bobbin chicken, sent me some pictures of her pieces in process. I love them. So we have chosen blues and greens to be our main color, and then you had to choose a background color. On my samples, I'm showing them to you in kind of like that candlelit white color that I like. It's not that bright white, just very soft color. Looks here like Kathy's chosen yellow, which I love. I think this is beautiful, Kathy. Your pieces are turning out great. And here's one thing that I hope will inspire you guys about Kathy's work. See here where she has, where it looks like she's like used a print that's mostly browns or something. If you look really closely, it has a lot of blue and green in that pattern. That is the perfect idea. Use what you have because this is a scrappy pattern. And if it has blues and greens in it, even if the background is neon pink or beige or brown or orange or purple or whatever, go ahead and use it because those colors will come out and those will be the little splashes throughout your quilt that your eye kind of searches around for and finds. It'll give that little hint of uniqueness to the overall quilt. So Kathy, thank you so much for sharing these. My friend, they're turning out beautiful. You're doing a great job on these. These are her diamonds in a square and her flying geese unit so far. So let's give Kathy a hand. She's doing a great job. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight, Kathy. I appreciate that so much. I love it when you guys send me your pictures. I love it. I love it. Send them to me. I'll give you the email at the end. If you don't have it, send them to me because they are so inspiring. And every time you guys send me something, there's something about your photos that I get to share with everybody else that is not something that I've already told you, like the way Kathy's using those fabrics that have the blues and greens in them, but that's not like the basic color. I didn't talk to you guys about that, but she went out and did that on her own. And it's a beautiful idea and it really will make her quilt special. And so now I can share that with you because she shared it with me. So don't be shy about sending in your photographs because they're always very, very inspiring. So thank you so much, Kathy. Yes, Sue, you're right. They are very nice. Okay. I'm just marking off my checklist tonight. Don't want to miss anything. So speaking of our quilt along, we skipped last week because last week was kind of our Memorial Day vacation week, right? Boy, did we get a lot done. You know, if you want, ladies, I have a whole new weight loss system for you and it works and you get to eat pretty much anything you want. Gardening. Oh my goodness. So we gardened like almost 9 or 10 hours a day on Saturday and on Sunday and on Monday. And I have lost 4 pounds this week from all of that carrying and lifting and moving and digging. It's great exercise. And you get to be outside where it's really beautiful out too. So that's what we did over Memorial Day weekend. We took a little drive to a little town that's about 40 miles from here on Saturday, I think, just to kind of get away. It was really beautiful to see the countryside, the fields, all the corn and the beans are starting to grow. And so it was a really lovely day, beautiful weather over the holiday, for which I was very thankful. But now we're back and it's time to pick up on our quilt along again. And I forgot to bring mine over with me tonight. Doggone it. I've been so busy doing stuff today. You should have seen the space earlier, you guys. Like literally I had a pile of stuff up to here that I had to go through, put stuff away because I've been pulling ideas and pictures and all and ideas for the quilt along for the Quilt Lab group. And so I just keep piling things up and then digging through them. So I finally cleaned it today. And have you noticed on the board back here, I have 3 new blocks up. These are blocks we've made before, these 2. This shouldn't be that way, but it should be, you know, square. That is the new a special exclusive block for the Quilt Labbers called Wildflower. So you guys in Quilt Lab have gotten that information already today. The videos out there, the patterns out there for you, all of that. But I wanted to change out my blocks back there because I have had my 4 patches from the Easiest Quilt Along Ever. And so since they're not there now, that means they're over there and they're getting put together. So hopefully in a week or 2, I will have that whole top done, and I will be putting together a quilting video for us that shows you how I quilted it and to talk you through some of the ideas on how you want to do your quilting. Alrighty. So far you've been asked to make a row of 14. Well, all of the information is in your little sheet here, how many to make. Now, can I just say something? I noticed this today. This says Quilt Alone Companion Project. Look at that. Quilt Alone. Nobody, if you guys caught that, you were all so kind and no one said a word to me. Should say Quilt Along Companion Project. You guys, if you ever catch that, please let me know. Because it's been out there, what, 4 or 5 weeks now, and I'm like, oh. So yeah, you don't have to quilt alone. You can quilt with whomever you want. But in this packet, it tells you, well, it talks about making the different combinations and all. And does it say? Yeah, and it tells you how many you're going to make. So you've made basically 14 flying geese units and either 7 or 14 diamond in a squares, depending on the size you're choosing to make. And Kathy said she was using the 4-inch. And so it looks to me like, Kathy, you must be making the 32 by 32 size. Is that correct? Can you let us know if that's the case? That looks like what you're doing. I could be wrong, but that with the 4-inch, that's the size that I think you're making. So for next week, you need to once again make 14 more flying geese units. Same size as you're making now, because that's the size that you'll make for the whole quilt. And 14 of them, okay? And they go pretty doggone quick. You can pull 14 of them out, I'm going to say in an hour or so. Right? If once you've got your stuff cut, you can just sit down and stitch those out. So for next week, 14 more, and I will have mine to show you next week because I've been such a goof and forgot them. Kathy says, yes, that's correct. So Kathy's pictures here, let's bring her pictures back up for a second. These that she's making are for the 32 by 32 inch size. So she's using the 4x4 quilts. For those of you that are new and you're wondering, how do you get the pattern pieces and all? These quilts that we make are made from the Build A Quilt Basics combo set. The combo set has 6 of the most often used segment pieces, the half square triangle, the square, and the quarter square triangle, the flying geese, the split rail, and the diamond in a square. And they all come in multiple sizes. So when we started this, and you go back a couple of weeks, you can catch that. All of this information is in the Wednesday Workshop Live videos. You can catch it and you can see like what the sizes are, because there's, I don't know, is there 3 or 4 sizes we can make? Let me look here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 4 sizes. So you can make a 55 by 70 throw, a 40 by 40, a 32 by 32, or a 24 by 24. And in the videos and the lives, I talk about like what each size works best for, but all that information is in there. This is a free download, but you have to own the combo set in order to get the digital files for these quilt alongs. For the Easiest Quilt Along Ever and for this one, because the whole idea is with that set, you can make hundreds of quilts. You'll never make as many quilts in one lifetime just from these pieces, right? So that kind of leads me in to what I want us to talk about tonight, because as I just said, with this set, you get multiple sizes, right? So in these quilt-alongs, Sue says, hang on, Sue says, how are we going to sew these together? So great question, Sue. The first set of flying geese units that you've made and the first set of diamonds in a square, you can match them up. So you should have either 7 or 14 sets, depending on the size you're making. Sue, do you know what size you're making? I can tell you. So the 55 by 70, you'll have 14 sets. The 40 by 40, all the rest of them, you'll have 7 sets. And you're going to basically put them together in sets so that you have basically, you're going to end up with columns. Instead of rows, we're going to do this in columns. I'll talk about that more next week, though, and I will show you how they're starting to go together next week, okay? So if you can hang on just another week, we'll catch that. 4 inch. Okay, so you'll have 2 flying geese sewn together and 1 diamond in a square. You'll sew your 2 flying geese together and your diamond in a square, and then you'll sew those 2 4x4 segments together, and you'll have 7 sets of those. Alrighty? So that's how that will go, and I'll go into that more detail next week for sure. Let me make myself a note here, because even though it's on my schedule, if I don't make a note of it now, I will also forget by the next week. So with the Build a Quilt set, because you get multiples, I'm making these quilt-alongs so that you get used to working with the system. These quilts are easy. There's nothing complicated. And stylistically, there's nothing amazing about these simple quilt-alongs we're doing right now. But this set is created so that you guys, some of you've heard me say this before, so that you can take a pattern from a store and create your own, create that quilt using the Build a Quilt system. And what we have coming up is we have 2 mini courses coming up this year. One is a mini course that's just going to be put out there for everybody to take when they want to. And that's basically what's Build a Quilt all about. How do I do it? But the next one is going to be the one about translating a written purchased pattern into the Build a Quilt system. And so we're also about to add on our first mini set add-on to this combo set, which will allow you to make mini quilts. They're tiny ones, but those small pieces will also help you in the process of these pre-bought patterns, because a lot of times in those patterns, you're not working with the exact same size, all 4-inch pieces, so they snug together nicely. You're dealing with some 10 by 10 blocks and 6 by 6 blocks, and somehow they all come together magically. So when you do that, you have to have lots of sizes. The mini set plus this set, when you put those all together, you're going to have the pieces that you need. And the mini course is going to talk you through how you figure out sizing and all of that. However, I had a question today. Someone in the Quilt Lab group took one of the Quilt Lab patterns and wanted to make it smaller, and she was wondering why it wasn't turning out. She was trying to use this system, I think, and make it smaller. The problem is that single pattern that she had chosen did not have didn't have even size blocks. It was 3 blocks across on 3 rows, and it was a 10-inch block. Well, 3 doesn't divide into 10 evenly. So when I created it, each one of those segments was kind of an off size. Those are sizes that really go with that block, and you really don't use them for other things unless by some oddity you find that you need a 3.333 infinity block, then you can. But those single patterns are meant to be made into that one block, and then that block can get used in other projects. And so I've also had a couple of questions like, can you help me figure out a little bit how I would translate these? So that whole big mini course is coming. And I will tell you, creating, filming, making the downloads, all of that for a mini course is probably harder than anything I've ever done, because I need them to be absolutely correct every time. I can't go, oops, I made a mistake. So sorry, I spelled that word wrong, right? So these are not something I'm pushing out quickly. I'm trying to get these completely correct for you guys, so that when you take these mini courses, you come out basically fully understanding what you're going to do. You have the tools you need. You have the understanding of the mechanics and the process. So that is coming, but it's in the process now, but it's not something that I do in a week or two. It's going to take a couple of months probably for me to get it all together, get it edited and all of that. So what I want to do tonight is kind of show you how you would translate some simple patterns to get you into that idea based on some blocks we did last year. So how many of you, let me know in the comments, were with us last year when we did the free Riley Blake block challenge quilt along? I took their 10 by 10 blocks. I translated them into the 10 by 10 size for Build A Quilt. So again, not always perfectly size 4 by 4, 2 by 2, 2.5 by 2.5. They could be 4.678 or whatever it needed to be to make that block. So if you did do that with us last year, let me know. That whole 16 block set plus the sashing is still available over at the website. It's a great way to get your hands on 16 10 by 10 blocks, folks. And it's complete free download because it came from Riley Blake. So I just remade the patterns in Build A Quilt. All of that was free. Yes, Sue is here. So Sue remembers these. So I have chosen 3 of those blocks to kind of help walk us through how we would translate those into different sizes if we were using, the Build A Quilt basic set. So let me bring up my first one. Kathy says she joined later, but downloaded the combo set and made the Riley Blake quilt. Kathy, I need a picture of your quilt. Honestly, I've never seen your quilt. I would love to see it because that quilt turned out really beautiful. It was a lovely quilt. What Riley Blake did, if you don't know, is 16 of their designers each created a 10 by 10 inch block. And each week they introduced a block and how to create it. And they did it in a traditional quilting style. I took the patterns as soon as they came out for everybody. I grabbed it and I translated it into the Build A Quilt system and then put it out for you guys as a free pattern as well so that we could do it with them. So let me bring up, hang on, there we go. Let me bring up this first one. This was the quilt block called Dazzle. This was, this was Dazzle. This was block number 5. It was by Christy Lee. And again, all you needed was your 5x7 hoop to make these. But if you notice, so this turned out to be 10 by 10, right? If you'll notice, the only segment pieces in this block are squares and half square triangles. Right? So let me bring this back up again. So if I were going to use my Build A Quilt system, the 10 by 10 original size, each segment piece was 2.5 by 2.5 inches finished, right? So it came together, you got a 10-inch block. So 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5, plus 2.5 is 7.5, plus, 5, 7.5. Plus 2.5 is 10. So you get your 10-inch blocks here, right? So easy to do that way. But what if you were doing a quilt and you thought, this would be a nice filler block. I really like this block, but I need it to be a different size. I need it to be maybe an 8 by 8 block. Then you would use the 2-inch segments of the half square triangle and the square in the Build A Quilt system. And you would come up, you would just follow the instructions that were in this pattern that I put out for you guys in regard to how many you're going to make and your colors. but you would use the cutting instructions for the 2x2 inch segments from the Build a Quilt system. If you wanted to make it a larger block, say a 12x12, then again, you would use the color and layout information from the pattern, but you would use the cutting instructions and all from the set for the 3-inch segments, because 3, 6, 9, 10, there's 4 of them. 3 times 4 is 12. That will give you that 12-inch block. What if you wanted to make it even bigger? What if you wanted to make one great big quilt out of this, but you wanted to make as few blocks as possible? Then maybe look at the 16x16. You put 6 or 9 of those together in that size, you got yourself a quilt, and that goes pretty fast. So in that respect, you use the layout and color of the pattern, and you use the 4-inch segments from the set. And then because the segments, these two segments, the square and the half square, come in 5-inch size, you could even make a 20x20-inch block. What would you use it for? Wall hanging, a table topper. What about a cushion for your sofa or a chair? What about making some throw pillows in a 20x20-inch size in kind of a cool pattern with lots of colors to send off with someone to school, or to give as a gift at the holidays, or for a birthday? Maybe somebody you know is redoing a house and they're coming up with new colors, ideas, and all. What about making them some cool 20x20-inch cushions as a housewarming gift to go with the new colors and all that they've chosen for their home? So that is how you would take Dazzle, the Tazzle block, which was originally a 10x10, and turn it into 4 other sizes. Pretty simple, right? So that one is very basic, very simple. Okay. Any questions? If you have questions, let me know. So that was Dazzle by Christy Lee. I chose that one because that one was the 2 most basic patterns, right? The square and the half square. Now, the other one that I want to show you, I have 2 more of them. One, I have a diagram. One, I do not, because I just saw it at the end and thought, oh, you got to grab this one. So the next one I want to show you, though, let me bring up, is for the block called Square Pegs. This one was by Amber Johnson. It was block number 11 in the Quilt Along. Square Pegs. Doesn't that look like a pretty complicated square? Look, it's only 2 different segment pieces. It wasn't complicated at all. Let me bring it up for you. There we go. So the Square Pegs pattern, although it looks complicated, it's only made out of half square triangles and diamonds in a square. All of these little diamonds in a square, and all the rest of them are half square triangles. Now, 4 of the half square triangles were 2 different colors, and the rest of them were 2 different colors. Well, this one was blue and red, or blue and pink, and the rest of them were blue and white. So by making these half square triangles here, I don't know if my pointer is tracking properly. How about here? Here, I think it's tracking now. Here and here and here. By making those 2 different colors, you get this complicated looking shape in the center. It wasn't complicated at all. You just made 4 different colored half square triangles. How simple. How completely simple is that? And then, except for your 4 outer diamonds in a square, they were made with the same like pinkish red and the deeper red. And that gave you this really fun inner piece. And then you had the white and red in the 4 directional points, north, south, east, and west. This was a super block to make. So the original design, their segment pieces done in the traditional format were 2x2. I made them so that you had the 2x2 sizes, format sizes, right? Now, it just so happens that in the combination set, your half square triangle comes in a 2x2, but your diamond in a square doesn't. It only comes in a 3, 4, and 5 inch at this point. And so You have it though in a 2x2 if you have this set. You have that segment piece, the diamond and a square in a 2x2. So that's the original. But you can make it in 3 more sizes. By using the 3-inch segments, you could make a 12 by 12 inch block. You could make a 20 by 20 inch, that great pillow size or table topper size with the 4-inch blocks. And if you wanted to make a huge piece, again, I think this is like small wall hanging size, or maybe it's kind of on the edge for something for a newborn maybe, but I like to make blankets for babies at least a yard by a yard, 36 by 36. But you would, if you use the 5-inch, my point is you would be getting a 25 by 25 inch square. All right, let's do a little math here. If I did 3 25 by 25 inch squares across, that's 75 inches across with just 3 squares. And then I could figure out 3 or 4 squares down, make 3 or 4 rows of them. I could have a whole great big quilt out of that if I wanted to use the same block. But let's remember, with the Dazzle, you can make a 20 by 20, so you could put these 2 together in a quilt if you wanted. That's the kind of thing you can do with Build a Quilt. All of those blocks you already have with Riley Blake's block challenge from last year, you can make in different sizes if you own this set and come up with your own unique quilt, completely, uniquely your own. You name it, you put it out there, I made it. Let's see, we have a question. Kathy says, how many Dazzle for a baby quilt? Well, Kathy, let's go ahead and bring that chart back up and let's take a look, because that's a great question. Whoops. Helps if I hit the right button. There we go. There we go. All right. So it's going to depend on what size block you need, Kathy. That's the first thing you need to decide. If you're going to make the 10 by 10, the original, 3 blocks across is going to give you 30 inches. That's right on the edge for a baby quilt. I like them a little bigger. So I would do 4 blocks across, which would be 40. And then I would do 4 rows down. So 4 by 4, 16, 10 by 10 blocks, and you would have a 40 by 40 quilt. That would be great for a baby quilt. If you wanted to do an 8-inch size, again, 8 inches by, let's see, 8 by 4 is 32. Do I have my math right? Yes, 8 by 4 is 32, 4 by 9 is 36. Yes, I can remember my times tables. Hang on, my hair is in my eye. Oh, that's stabbing me. Oh, hate that. Time to get my bangs cut. So if I did a 4 by 8, so if I did 4 8-inch blocks across, that would be 32. That's okay for a small baby quilt. And then you could square it up. So 16 8 by 8s would give you a 32-inch square baby quilt. Okay. A 12 by 12. Now, 2 12 by 12s is going to give you 24. 12 by 3 is going to give you 36. So in that 12 by 12 size, if you did 9 blocks, you would get a 36 by 36. So do you see how I'm doing that math, Kathy? Is that helping you? You need to decide what size you want the quilt to be and then plug in from the chart what size block you want to do, or just decide what size block you want to do. What's going to get you the closest to that size that you want, because you might need to go up a little bit and it'll be a tiny bit bigger, or you might need to go down the size and it would just be maybe like an inch or so smaller than what you're thinking. If you're thinking 40, but 32, yeah, 32 is still a good size. Does that make sense to you, Kathy? Did you get that math idea and how you would do that? Let me know, dear. Alrighty, so now the very last one that I brought with me that I did not do a chart for, because I literally grabbed it while we were in the opening, And hey, I wanted to ask those of you that were here at the beginning, did you see part of the new opening? If you did, let me know what you thought of it. I'd love to get your feedback. The other one is Time Waits for No One. It was block number 10 by Karen Walker. It was this one. It is all quarter square triangles. Why? Because a quarter square triangle really can look like an hourglass a little bit, right? So what they did here is this is 10 by 10. So these have to be 2.5 inches, which makes this one in the center 5 inches. Can you make it with your Build a Quilt system? Yes, but you would be using, so if you were going to use the 3-inch across here, you would use, oh no, you would need a 6-inch here. So we don't have a 6-inch of this. So you would need to try and figure out, you know, what size do you have for here? And then whatever size piece you use here, you have to double it for here. So let me think about this for a second. So if I used my 2 inches, if I made these 2 inches across, so this would be an 8-inch, I would use a 4-inch for this big one. Okay, because this takes up the same space as this. So this is 4, this is 2, and this is 2, which is 4. So I could make this into an 8-inch block if I wanted. It gets harder when you get bigger because then you need bigger pieces. However, we're going to have an expansion set come out this year as well for larger pieces. So you will get to the point where you can make these. But remember, with larger segment pieces, you have to have larger hoops. And so far, everything that we've done will fit into a 5 by 7. But I know a lot of you have bigger hoops, so we're going to try and turn out a set for you of bigger pieces so that you can make translate bigger segments all in one time. Okay, so that was another one I thought that you could look at. This one's super simple because it's all the same block. It's only the one segment, and the small ones are half the size of the big ones. So 4 of these little guys fit into that one big one. So pretty easy to figure out how to translate it. Now there's more to translating a full quilt pattern, but for these individual blocks, it's a great way for you guys to get some practice in and get feeling at ease with doing that. The math in Build a Quilt is not difficult. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. That's it. There's no calculus going on here. And the one thing about it with quilts, with patchwork, is all of our patchwork is geometric. Geometry of all the higher maths. Excuse me, I really do have something in my eye. It's about to blind me. Sorry, guys. So sorry about that. Of all the higher maths, geometry is kind of the easy because I consider it the picture math. It's the one that I was good at geometry. When I had to take calculus and differential calculus and all that, those other ones, yeah, I almost lost my mind. And when I was in graduate school, Dave almost lost his mind helping me get through those classes. But you can do it. You can do it. If you ever have to do it, you can. But geometry is the easy part. And quilters, we're good at geometry because we work with squares and triangles and rectangles. And that's geometry. So quilters, I think, are far better at math than they ever give themselves credit for, right? Because we use simple math and we use geometry, and you can all do it. I know you can. But really, with translating, it's very simple. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay. So that's what I wanted to go over with you all tonight because I thought it would really help you start, like I said, getting used to the idea of doing different blocks and things in different sizes. I wanted to do it tonight with the examples of someone else's block, some block that was not my own, because I tend to design blocks that I know will fit into the system, right? But sometimes with somebody else's block, you have to figure it out a little bit more. And so that's why I wanted to use these, because this is a whole free set All 16 of these blocks are a free set over at our website, mybuildaquilt.com. It's the Riley Blake Block Challenge of 2024. We're not doing the block challenge this year. To be honest, I wasn't overly thrilled with what I saw before it started. I didn't technically prefer it for myself. And so I made the decision not to do it this year. And we did it last year because a group of you asked if we could. And it was a great thing to do. I really enjoyed it. And we might do next year's. I don't know. But I just decided not this year because we have so many more Build a Quilt things to do this year. So give those a try. Or take a pattern that is a Build a Quilt pattern that you have and see if you can work it into the system and make a different size of it. You know, so the one that I got asked about today, all those segments were 3.333 because they were a specialty size, but I could take those blocks and find a completely different size in here and turn it into a different size, but I would have to figure out what size that was going to be and if it would be useful for me in my project, right? So you can always play around and do whatever you want. I hope that was really helpful for you guys. That's what I wanted to get across tonight, that translation idea is super simple with just a little bit of tiny bit of math. Okay, are you guys ready for the question of the week? We might actually get done early tonight. That'll be nice, right? It's because I've been keeping you guys over a little bit, so that'll be nice. So tonight, our question is, I was thinking about this today because I find sometimes that it is hard to come into the studio in the summer, especially when I have the garden going, because I love being out in the garden. It's very zen. It's very relaxing, kind of like quilting is for me. But what do you guys think? Do you quilt in the summer? Do you like quilting in the summer? Better yet, do you like quilt-alongs in the summer? Would you prefer smaller things in the summer? Is summer the time you'd like to take a mini course so that you can really work on projects at colder times of the year? Let me know in the comments. Do you quilt in the summer? And after we've given you guys a little bit of time to answer, we will choose a winner by random choice, and you will get a $5 gift certificate to the website towards anything you like. And I know that some of you, our Memorial Day sale just ended yesterday. I know several of you took advantage of that. Thank you all so very much. And while you all are answering, let me share something with you. I told you a couple of weeks ago that we've reached a milestone here at Build a Quilt where we're able to do some YouTube partnering things. One of those things is offering you guys the chance to show your support and fandom through what they call super thanks. There's down at the bottom of the thing, there's 3 dots. You hit it and it says super thanks. And you get like a special recognition when you purchase those. They're not expensive, but part of that fund goes to Build a Quilt so that we can do additional projects, additional videos. And what I do with those funds is I'm putting it towards some new equipment. I really need to update some cameras and stuff. But that is supposed to be your way, again, of supporting. You guys know that I don't ever feel like you have to do that. But it's something new. I wanted to share it with you because you guys know that I love each and every one of you as you are. And I am so thankful for you. So I hate sharing stuff like that, but I needed to do that. So it's available if you're interested. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So let's see our answers over here. Some of our views. So Kathy says, Ruth says, yes, absolutely. You quilt in the summer, Ruth. Yes, absolutely. You know, I think I quilt all year round, but sometimes I think about like in the past when I wasn't doing Build a Quilt, would I work on quilts in the summer? I usually would work on one, but I always try to get a summer quilt done before summer too. Kathy says, I like quilting in the summer. I like to start my Christmas gifts in May. Kathy, my dear Kathy, aren't you incredible? You like to start your Christmas gifts in May. Goodness sakes, you are on the ball, my friend. No, I'm not that good. Kathy says, oh no, I forgot about the sale. It's all right, sweetheart. It's okay. And Sue says, I like sewing in the middle of the summer when it gets hot outside. You know, Sue, that's a great thought. It gets so hot here now in the summer. We have 100-degree days more and more often here. When I was growing up in Illinois, if you got 100-degree day in end of August, that was like a big deal. We've already had a 100-degree day here now this year in May. It's crazy. So I agree with you on that, Sue. When it's hot outside, I'd rather be in the AC and doing some quilting for sure. Great answers, guys. I love hearing those things. Anybody else wants to answer, please feel free to do so. We'll leave that up for another minute. Next week, we will do more with the quilt along in respect to, I will have my pieces to show you. We will talk about putting them together. I'll even try doing a little video clip that I can show of putting them together so that you guys can kind of see how I've matched things up and all of that. And we'll show that during the live. And I'm making myself a note. So we will talk about that next week. If you are a Quilt Lab subscriber, once again, your new pattern is out over at the website in the members only area, the Wildflower Block. This is an exclusive. The exclusives come out 4 times a year in 2 sizes. So you got this in a 9x9 and a 15x15, and you got 2 bonuses. I gave it to you in 2 variations, this and one other variation, and I give you a layout for a quilt just to inspire you, not something that you have to make or that you would want to make, but something to inspire you on what you can do with these blocks and how they can look completely different from what this Wildflower block. If you just put these together, no sashing, no difference in a quilt, it'll look like a field of flowers. It's really pretty. But in the inspirational diagram I give you in the pattern, it looks completely different because it makes a different pattern. You'll see it in the video and in your pattern piece as well. So, all righty, everybody, let's figure out who our winner is. Kathy likes the new block. Thank you, Kathy. She says, yes, Sue, too hot to quilt. Too hot, so quilt in the AC for sure. What is the pinwheel looking block? That one, Kathy, we made that last year, I think. And I don't remember the name of it. Oh, I think this is the Flying Dutchman. I think this is a Flying Dutchman. We did this last year. I'm not sure if it's available still or not. But let's bring this one down. Look at this very closely, Kathy. Can you tell me what segment I used? Only the Flying Geese unit. That's all that got used. Now, you make a bunch of them like this, and then you make a bunch of them like this. So you make a 2 patch of 2 flying geese, one that's like this, and one where the body is a different color. One wing is the same color as up here, and the other wing is a completely different color. And then you put those blocks with the geese flying north, the geese flying, that would be where I'm sitting, that would be flying east, but it could be west the way you're looking at it. You just flip them by 90 degrees and make a 4 patch, which makes your pinwheel. And then you put the 4 pinwheels together. Okay. So check that. It might still be out there. I'm thinking it was a pattern. It was a variation on a pattern, on a different pattern, Kathy, but I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. I'm too old to remember. Sorry. But check it out. If it's not, let me know, and I can probably dig it out for you. Okay. All righty, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are getting done early. If you need to contact me, please do so at support@sewincommon.com. I'll get back with you as soon as I can, usually right away, unless it's the middle of the night and then I'm snoozing. You guys get that. Some nights I don't snooze very long, but I'm snoozing. The website, again, is mybuildaquilt.com. That's where you can find all the patterns. That's where you can find that set of 16 blocks from Riley Blake. If you don't have them, grab them. But I will tell you, I have refilled the inventory on that pattern set so much, I know that close to 2,000 sets have gone out of that free set, because they're incredible to have 16 10 by 10 inch blocks. Mix and match them, do whatever you want with them. Do the original quilt, do whatever else you want with them. So that was really nice of them to do that. Have a good week, Sue. You too, dear. And then again, if you're new with us, please subscribe. If you enjoyed yourself tonight, please like and share our videos. That's how we've grown. We're almost at 750,000 subscribers here. That's crazy to me. And each one of you just means the world to me. I never thought Build a Quilt would be what it is now. And it's all because of you guys. So thank you all so much. And until next time, everybody, you know what I'm going to say. Go quilt life beautiful. Bye. I'll see you guys next week. Are you guys still here? Oh, I'm so bad. Good. Some of you are still here. I did not pick a winner. Let me. I'm so bad. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's see who is our winner tonight. I'm picking the question of the week winner randomly. Let's see, who do we land on? Kathy, dear, you are our winner tonight. I will send you your certificate tomorrow. Kathy Johnson, thank you so much, Kathy, for being with us tonight and being a good sport when I forgot to pick the winner. When Sue says goodbye, I feel like I need to say goodbye too, and I just completely forgot. So until next time, everybody, bye for now.